I was born in Jamaica, came to the United States in 1968 at the age of 12, 1 month short of 13. It was a rough area, it was a tough time, ended up in 8th grade. And that was a tough year. That was probably that junior high school was the toughest junior high school in the city. There's a lot of bullying. Several teachers were stabbed in that school that year. I had my senses knocked out of me a few times, a lot of tough things. But we had to toughen up to survive in those mean streets. And so we moved on into high school the following year, got involved with gangs. I wanted to fit in. I was lonely. I wanted to have friends. I wanted that kind of family environment. So I tried pot. That was my entry into the drug world. Within a short time, and that was between the ages of 19 and 23, I became hardcore. But I began to search because I realized that this isn't all there is to life. Over a 2-year period, I was unemployed during that length of time, and it was that time that I embarked on this spiritual odyssey, trying to find truth, trying to find where I fit in, trying to find, is there a God? And make a long story short, as I began to search and study, I began to look more and more into the spirit world and sorcery. I readily got into it because the seduction for power is real, it's tangible, and I want some. In any case, as we embarked on that, we began to be trained to call the spirits through us. And we became mediums, or not spirit guides, or channelers, which is what it's called today. And there's a young woman at one point that she was very sensitive to the spirit, and she became possessed. That's when we realized that demonic possession is real. There were 6 of us young men trying to control this woman. She's flailing around, and we're getting tossed around. So it was kind of scary. One point, this went on for about 3 days. At one point, her body was tired. She fell asleep. We went to a local religious store. We bought a black rosary and put holy water in it. And so we didn't know what we were doing. We were just trying to help this lady. While she was asleep, we came back to the house. We placed the rosary around her neck, and there's this roar started down here in her stomach area, and it came out like her face was like, ah. In any case, she grabbed that rosary, and it just disintegrated. It was projectiles everywhere. 3 of the fellas that were with at that point, they said, we're done, we're out of here. They can't handle that anymore. But the rest of us, we stayed. I remember at one point sitting literally on our chest. The entity in her looked at me and says, today you're going to die. Well, my response was, only God determines whether I live or die, not you. And I'm thinking, where'd that come from? That was one of the first realizations I had. And looking into the face of evil and recognize that evil is real, Satan is real, it's clear to me that God's got to be real. So my journey continued. It was shortly, probably within a year's time. Couldn't get a job, still doing my journey and looking for where truth is. Someone says, there's a curse on you. You need to go see this person. This is in New York. She's known as a witch in the community. People come to see her. Hundreds of people come to see her. You pay hundreds of dollars to see this person. She has enormous power. When it was my turn, wait hours for her. When it was my turn, she looked at me and she lit a cigar, blew it in my face, and read my aura. And it's like reading a book of my life. It was mind-blowing because she knew everything about me just by simply reading the aura from the smoke that circled my face. And she asked me a question. You believe in God? I said, well, doesn't everybody? We all believe God exists. Well, are you saved? I'd never heard that term or that invitation to me before, and I didn't know what she meant. Well, she explained the plan of salvation to me, but she also mixed it with a whole system of works. And she led me to sinner's prayer. I placed my trust in Christ. I didn't know how I was going to do and maintain all that other stuff. But when I got up, the strongest impression, get out of this house as fast as you can and don't look back. And so I ran out of there. So my adventure with Jesus started then, and that was in the fall of 1979. Well, you know, I have been asked before, how can a witch tell you about Jesus? What is that about? That doesn't make sense. And I'm reminded that God spoke through a mule to a hard-headed man. And if he can speak through a mule to a hard-headed man, to an animal, a dumb animal, he can speak through anyone. He can use anyone at any time because he is sovereign. And I have realized that we can't keep God in the box. Oftentimes we assume that God is not able to do certain things, or he doesn't do certain things. But our God is sovereign. He's the King of Kings, the Lord of Lords, and he'll use anything in any way to bring us to the throne of grace. And I'm reminded of Saul, who became Paul, and others of that kind. So I just want to encourage people that if God has his hand on you, no matter what obstacles you're facing, it doesn't stop him from moving when he so pleases.